It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. And download the podcast of this show. Search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Would appreciate a follow and a subscribe. There is, and you don't get to say this often, a Google sheet that is going viral. It's a Google sheet that anybody can view and anybody can share it and they can submit their own information. This Google sheet is titled Tracking Rental Price Gouging in LA. And they have over 427 submissions of allegations of price gouging, where they're claiming that a landlord had a certain price for a rental before the fire started, and the price went up 10, 20, 30, 40, 150% in the last week. What is actually going on here? I don't know. Now, they get all the claims on this Google sheet, and then they try to verify if those prices are accurate or what exactly is going on here. You're starting to hear a lot of our local elected officials talk about price gouging, but is it a little more complicated than greedy landlords that are taking advantage of a crisis? Because we do have already a housing crisis in Los Angeles, in the state of California. Now we have an even bigger housing crisis because we have potentially 20,000 people. About 20,000. The CAL FIRE latest numbers are 12,300 homes have been destroyed and other buildings. But let's say it's 12,000. So that's 25,000 people, if it's families of four, nearly 100,000 people that may need a new place to live. And apparently the rental market, which was already tight, is getting tighter. And so what is also being reported outside of the allegations of price gouging is bidding wars going on, especially with rental houses in places like the Hills, where people are offering to pay 10, 20, 30% more per month in order to get it, because there is an all-out fight going on right now to secure housing. It is wild out there. So let's try to find out what's going on here. But if you think you have an idea, do you think what's going on right now in the rental market is price gouging? Do you think it's bidding wars? Or do you think something else is going on? Because it's not a super clear-cut situation here, as some of our electeds want it to be. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. Do you think the spike in rental prices is price gouging, bidding wars, or something else? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. In fact, Nathan Hochman, the district attorney for Los Angeles County, he addressed this in this morning's press conference.
We have received numerous allegations that we are now following up involving additional looting incidents and price gouging. The price gouging is particularly despicable because these are people who are basically looking at this situation and saying, how can I make the most amount of money from people who are desperately seeking housing, supplies, they're seeking services because they've lost everything. They've lost their houses. And I will tell you that with respect to this price gouging, we have seen people increase their prices for rooms that they are renting, for houses that they are leasing, 100, 200, 300%.
And I got to say, if it's as clear cut as that, somebody who happened to live near the areas of the burns, whether it's Altadena, Pasadena, or the areas that are around the Palisades, if you were charging one price on January 6th and a price that's double that on January 8th, what's going on here? Because that would be profiting off a tragedy. But is that what's going on here?
For rooms that they are renting, for houses that they are leasing, 100, 200, 300%. Here's my warning. If you're one of these people who have engaged in price gouging, not only do you need to stop it immediately, I would strongly recommend that you go back and fix it. Go back and refund the amount that you have overcharged people. We will certainly take that into consideration in deciding whether or not to charge you. So it's your choice. If you want to actually abide by the law, you could benefit from it right this second. But if we go ahead and find out that you've engaged in price gouging and you've taken no steps to remedy the violation that you have basically enacted, we will go ahead and prosecute you to the full extent of the law.
He's throwing the book at you, you price gougers.
You will be looking at civil penalties, and as importantly, your name will get out there. Your company's name will get out there. You will be publicly shamed. I want to make that crystal clear. So stop it right now.
You heard him. Stop it.
So stop it right now.
You don't want to get shamed. It'll be like that season of Game of Thrones. We'll drag you through the street naked, ringing a bell saying, shame.
Shamed.
I don't know if that's what's going on, but it wasn't just Nathan Hochman talking tough about rental price gouging. It was also Lindsay Horvath.
The declaration of emergency countywide has gone into effect and includes illegal price gouging, including on rent and housing options. We cannot raise the price of rent, goods, or services more than 10%. There are both criminal and financial penalties. These are enforced by our district attorney, as you heard, through the county's declaration of emergency. Our county council and our director of consumer and business affairs have the authority to impose civil penalties. And I spoke with our attorney general of the state this morning, who is vigorously investigating cases at his level. We are taking these instances seriously, and there will be consequences. Under our county emergency, we also know that this could include misdemeanor charges.
Which mean nothing in California, but you will get shamed, right, Nathan Hochman?
Publicly shamed. Publicly shamed.
You're going to get publicly shamed. I don't know what's going on here, but if you happen to be looking for a rental right now and you're seeing this, give me a call, 800-222-KABC. If you're a landlord and you have some information that you'd like to contribute to this because it's not the whole story being told here, give us a call, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's also hear the question and answer portion of this presser because Hochman got asked specifically about the allegations of rental price gouging.
And on the price gouging that we're seeing happening with rentals, again.
Can we mic the reporters? It's 2025.
And on the price gouging that we're seeing happening with rentals, again, price gouging is illegal, but bidding wars are not if the tenants are driving that. We're seeing more and more evidence of these bidding wars. Should people here in Los Angeles be bracing for rents to dramatically increase, or is there anything you can do to try to stabilize the market?
So the reporter there is alleging that there's also evidence, not necessarily of prices that are going up and up and up, but you have so many people competing for the same rental house that they're outbidding each other by thousands and thousands of dollars. And does that affect the entire rental market? I don't know.
So here's how bidding wars work. If a landlord or someone who's renting out a particular house or room had an original price before the wildfires and the state of declaration occurred and keeps that original price, but others give him or her additional money to rent, and they take absolutely no action whatsoever to in any way increase that price, then it falls in a gray area. I don't want to say it is 100% legal, but it is a gray area.
It's one of those iffy things.
But if the landlord or the renter or the person renting goes ahead and engages in a discussion amongst different people as to which price they're going to take that is more than 10% ahead, they're engaging in price gouging. So again, what I would strongly, strongly urge anybody who's renting or selling or providing a service is that if you receive more than 10% of the amount that you would have received before these wildfires, you are now entering into the world of price gouging. Your case will get looked at, and if you are found guilty of it, you will be prosecuted.
And even more importantly that, you'll be
publicly shamed.
800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. The housing crisis has gotten infinitely worse thanks to these fires in Southern California. But do you think what's happening right now in the rental market is price gouging? Is it bidding wars, or is something else going on? And are we just going to see the cost of rent go through the roof because now the supply is that much shorter? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Before we get to the calls, Karen Bass was asked about this at a press conference as well. This was at yesterday's FEMA press conference.
You did mention that there were some unmet needs.
Once again, 2025. Can we mic the reporters?
It bans price gouging on rentals, so a landlord can't ask for an increase that surpasses 10%. But a prospective tenant can offer whatever they want. So realtors tell me that what they're seeing, rents are doubling, rents are tripling, and that is completely legal. For Californians...
So if you can't hear the reporter, she says she's talked to realtors that say rents are doubling and tripling because of the offers, and that's perfectly legal even with these price gouging ordinances from the state, from the county.
Being priced out of the neighborhood because they can't outbid their neighbors. What do you say to that? What can we do to get ahead of
Well, first of all, anybody that would take advantage of the desperation that people feel right now, I just think is shameful. In the last couple of press conferences that we did, the 8 a.m. press conference, our DA was there, and he was very clear, and I've also spoken to our city attorney. Both of them are very clear that they are going to be on the lookout for this type of thing. I also want you to know that the city council is meeting right now, and I know they're going to take up this issue. And so it's something that we really have to go into because we just can't.
Well, the way the city council took up this issue is Ulysses and Hugo want to put forth a no eviction ordinance like we had in COVID times.
Allow that to happen. First of all, the rents are too expensive to begin with. And the idea that somebody would gouge folks at this point in time, I think, is shameful.
But it's not gouging. It's legal if the prospective tenant offers to pay more, if they bid it, if the landlord doesn't get them to do that, if they do that.
I don't know if Karen Bass understands the concept.
You-
I barely understand the concept, but I'm not the mayor.
You are, I think that that's an important legal issue that needs to be looked at. Possibly nothing. But I know one thing in my executive directive that I signed yesterday. It turns out that we had 1,200 units of housing that was ready to be occupied, but was stuck in the bureaucracy. So one of the things that my executive directive does is get...
So does that tell me that all your homeless executive directives were useless? Because you called that a crisis too.
So one of the things that my executive directive does is gets that online. So hopefully we should have 1,200 units of housing available in the next week or so. So looking for those things that get stuck in the bureaucracy. I mean, first of all, you know that I've been trying to deal with the bureaucracy from...
Okay, she's not answering the question. I don't know why I play these, outside of pointing the fact to you that Karen Bass never answers a question directly, and that is starting to hurt her credibility. But there is this Google sheet going viral called Tracking Rental Price Gouging in LA. It was started by a realtor who is going through everything that they see on Zillow and Redfin of how much rentals have increased when we're talking about homes from before January 7th to after January 7th, when the prices went up, how much they went up. Obviously, prices are going up. We're hearing reports from realtors about bidding wars. The officials are trying to call it price gouging. Do you think this is price gouging, people profiting off of human suffering? Do you think that this is bidding wars because there's not enough supply? Do you think something else is going on? Love to talk to prospective renters. Love to talk to landlords who are probably more educated than me on this subject. 800-222-KABC. Get on the line right now. There's a line open for you. Everyone wants to know what you think about the potential rental price gouging in LA. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Garrett in Fallbrook. Garrett, hello.
Hey, how you doing today? I think it boils down to basic economics and the laws of supply and demand. And the other part of that is the government can stay the hell out of it. The government that governs least governs best.
Well, we don't believe that at all in Los Angeles.
I wish, but that's the best form of government, brother. That's all I got to say.
Thanks so much for the call, Garrett. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. We're seeing reports of rentals starting to spike in Los Angeles in the wake of these fires. Is this price gouging? Is this bidding wars? What do you think is going on? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Stuart in Long Beach. Stuart, hello.
Hello, Randy. Thank you for taking my call. I think something else is going on because what the city council is looking at doing is putting an eviction moratorium, as you mentioned, and then possibly a rent freeze, which gives them a leg up in their political campaigns in the future. So on the backs of a lot of small landlords that have been given huge increases in insurance and will, no one said anything when insurance went up on many buildings by 30 to 40 to 50%. And probably will go up in the next couple of months even higher on that. And I know in the city of Los Angeles, they raised the rent control fee by 300% several years ago. So, there's a lot going on that a lot of people don't know. And the landlords, there are some bad landlords out there, but I think there's a lot of small landlords that are just trying to make a living, get paid a fair amount of rent. They're suffering from no rents during COVID. So there's a lot of people suffering who are landowners. And I think also, Randy, this also obfuscates what the city did of keeping a 117 million gallon reservoir empty for at least 11 months. It also says about an hour and a half went by in the Palisades before any fire people were out there. I think that's the issue. I think with Edison, with the CEO of Pedro Pizarro having multiple fires on his resume, and he's still the CEO of that company. So that's what I think is going on.
Well, those are all issues that we're definitely going to be focusing on, and we're not going to let Karen Bass off the hook with, for sure. But to your point about the solutions that are being offered by the city council, including doing what we did in the COVID times with eviction moratoriums and rent freezes, everybody's costs are about to go through the roof when the insurers start passing the cost of these fires onto property owners, whether they're owners of rental property or owners of single family homes. And if you're locked in a rent freeze, but your cost just went up 20, 30%, you're going to have to sell your building. There's no way you can do business.
That is correct. And you're going to have less and less rental housing. I can tell you that I'm the last generation. My family's been landlords for 3 generations. I'm it because I wouldn't want my next generation to take over this. That's how disgusted many of us landlords are. And and you're not going to have a lot of rebuilding of rental property in the Southern California area because they've treated us so poorly, Randy.
I feel your pain. Thanks so much for calling in, bringing your perspective to the show, Stuart. I love hearing from you. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. There's a Google sheet out there that's going viral, and when spreadsheets go viral, we're going to talk about it. It's called Tracking Rental Price Gouging in L.A., where a realtor is posting up the prices of rentals before and after the fires started, and they're seeing 10% increases, 20% increases, 30% increases. Here's one that went up 173% from $5,000 a month to $15,000 a month. What do you think is going on here? Is this price gouging? Is this bidding wars from people that are competing for housing? Is something else going on? What do you think is going on here with the alleged price gouging in the rental market in Los Angeles in the wake of these fires? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC on the allegations of price gouging in the rental market in Los Angeles in the wake of these fires. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Jay in Simi Valley. Jay, hello.
Hey, Randy. How you doing?
Doing great.
Great. Love your show. I got to tell you, I'm a little bit, I'll say, nauseous regarding this phrase, price gouging. What exactly does that mean? I mean, you're sitting there, you have Hockman saying, well, if it's 10%, that's okay. But if it's 12%, it's bad. If it's 14%, it's bad. Yeah, we get it that the extreme values of 100% increase, et cetera, is ridiculous. But at the same time, notice the response right away from the LA government. Let's have more government. Let's have us step in. We'll help things. When was the last time you saw any leader in government, especially in Los Angeles, have any clue on how to do things financially responsibly? So I feel like it's almost a joke on us citizens where they're saying like, no, now's the time where we're going to be able to help people. They never do. And my family, my wife and I, we are Los Angeles refugees, and we're happy to be out of there. And hopefully sometime soon, we'll be able to be California refugees out of here soon, because it's just too expensive. And when the government steps in, it gets a whole lot worse.
Well, Jay, if you end up being a California refugee in the future, remember, you can still listen to us on the KABC app.
You got it.
Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. What do you think of these potential reports of price gouging, bidding wars? What do you think is going on right now with the rental market in Los Angeles County? I want to talk to renters, landlords. If you think you know what's going on here, because there's a lot of allegations being made, we'll take your calls. If you're on hold, stay on hold. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us at randykabc@gmail.com and get us on podcasts. Search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. There is a Google sheet that's been going viral lately, started by a realtor in Los Angeles, tracking price increases for rentals before and after the fire started. Some of them going up 14%, 33%. We have one here that went up 45%, 250%. A $2,000 rental went to a $7,000 rental. I got to look up that one on Zillow. But what do you think is going on here? Because our local electeds are alleging price gouging. We have members of the city council that say because of this, they want to enact rent freezes and eviction moratoriums like in the COVID days. What do you think is going on here? Is this price gouging? Is this bidding wars because there's so many people trying to find these homes at the same time? Or is something else going on? 800-222-KABC. If you're on hold, thanks for holding. We'll get to you right now. Let's go to Mara in Canyon Country. Mara, hello.
Hey, hi. Your last two callers were absolutely right. You don't want the government to get in. If you had a property and you were getting $5,000 for it, and you could now get $15,000, wouldn't you? That's free enterprise. If a person doesn't want to move into that house, they can find a cheaper one. The guy next door might want to sell his for $40. The market takes care of itself. Don't get the government in there. Once they get in, forget it. Socialism never worked, and it's free enterprise to do what you want with you. They already have rules that are just ridiculous and aren't any of their business. So it
looks like the city council. Well, thanks so much for the call, Mara. I appreciate it. The city council is going to take every advantage of this crisis and do what they did during COVID, because that's what they believe is going to help the most people, whether that actually is helping people or not, whether this is price gouging or not, whether it's bidding wars. It is the free market. What is going on here? Let's go to George in Fullerton. George, hello.
Hey, Randy. Good afternoon. It's happy hour.
Howdy. It is.
Anyways, I'm calling because I'm also a landlord. You know, Los Angeles isn't all rent control. The good areas are always going to be not rent control, very minimum. And I don't think it's going to help anything what the city's going to try to do, just a blah, blah, blah. And my other concern is, she says she has 1,200 units available. Is that in Skid Row? So you're going to take all these people and live in these middle-class areas and hire and put them in South Central, or put them where? In the projects? And then one more thing. She lives in the Hancock district that can fit, in her mini mansion, she can fit 5 to 6 families. Why don't she give it up to 5 or 6 families to live there? You know,
you know what? I think that would be a beautiful thing that she would do. And for at least 10 seconds would get people to forget that she went to Ghana to go to a party instead of covering the wildfires.
That's right. At least in the Hancock district, they'll have a little bit of a better time. They can forget where they're at for a while.
I think that's a great idea. Thanks so much for the call, George. Appreciate it. Karen Bass, open your home to California wildfire victims. It's the least you can do. Let's go to Tom in Canyon Country. Tom, hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing great.
So, under the current deal with the rent control czar, they're price gouging. They're able to rent for a higher rate. They also can do workaround around the law in terms of a bidding war. One time I rented a place and I offered them less for the monthly, but I paid a whole year in advance just because I wanted to get the rent a lot lower. I had just sold a house. They can do that if you go in and you offer, like if they say the rent's $3,000 and somebody else comes in and offers them $4,000, they're obviously going to take the $4,000. But if they're advertising it and they can hold up in court with this executive order of 10% or more is now considered price gouging. If that's the case and they're advertising it, that would fall under the landlord's gouging us.
Yeah, but it looks like maybe we're seeing some of that, but every time that this is brought up in these press conferences, what's being brought up more is what you're talking about, where there's a bidding war going on, and obviously you're going to take the prices if it's offered to you, and that, even Nathan Hochman admitted, is a legal gray area, so that's not technically illegal even with the ordinance.
It wouldn't be illegal, and when the housing prices were hot, a lot of the realtors would come in, and I'd come in and give them, asking price. And they're like, offer as much as you can because there's a bunch of cash buyers and this, that, and the other, and they're overbidding, so they're trying to get you to run the price up. And I'm like, no, I'll give the price for this, and if you come back with a higher price, that's false advertisement when you started. But if you accept the price that they're saying we want $3,000, what as a landlord I would say, oh, hold on a sec, I'm looking at other applicants to make sure we get the most qualified applicant. But really I would be buying time to get higher bids, which is probably what's going on because there's supply and demand issues. And for the landlords, these are temporary tenants that they're going to get because, it's probably going to be a good 2 years because if your house is insured, there's like red tape, then, getting the money and the insurance, getting this, that, and the other, then getting permits. And Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass said they're going to streamline everything and they're not going to let the Coastal Commission hold everybody hostage, which I don't believe that, but that is what they are saying publicly. But all said and done, you'd be very lucky to rebuild your house in 2 years. So whatever.
Oh, I think we're looking at 5 years.
Yeah. And there's 10,000 other houses also in that same scenario. So 5 years is a total legitimate timeline. So 5 years, you're like, okay, well, this is pretty good, but it's not like getting. I had a renter years ago at one of my houses up in Palmdale, and they stayed for 7 years, and it was wonderful. There was a few things that you had to keep fixing, but I didn't raise the rents that much because it was just a stable. The whole system I was making like 10% more than what I was paying, and had to deal with a clogged toilet here and there, and trim the trees a little bit, and not much more other than normal maintenance. And because of that, as a landlord, that's me. I don't have a bunch of properties. A lot of people in real estate, they have a specific formula where every three years they automatically raise it up, or if they're in rent control areas such as this, they have to raise it every single time because really the rent control is undervaluing the real rents that you could be getting. And that's
well, and then there's all the other costs that go into that as well. Well, Tom, thank you so much for the call, buddy. Appreciate it. We're late for a break, but I really appreciate that perspective. And isn't it nice when you have easy tenants and the tenants have an easy landlord? We were always the best tenants. We never complained about anything. And the places we lived, the rent didn't go up that much. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We're going to get to you. 800-222-KABC. Your thoughts on these allegations of price gouging in the L.A. rental market right now. 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Michael in Calabasas. Michael, hello.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
Doing great.
Randy, can you hear me? Yeah.
I can hear you.
Good. I'm a refugee too, but luckily my home didn't burn. Our home is about 1 mile northeast of Montenegro, and the winds were in our favor to go towards the ocean. But we were evacuated already for over a week, and luckily we don't have to deal with renting again and finding like we did in the Woolsey fire. But what I wanted to bring up was the subject that I don't believe anybody was talking about. Who are these landlords, so-called gouging? Are they gouging the people who the insurance companies pays for them, for the rentals? Or they're gouging the insurance companies? I mean, those who lost their homes and horribly didn't have any insurance, yes. If they wanted to rent a place and they gouge them, that's a big, big no-no. And an evil thing to do. But when the insurance company, I remember when we had to leave the home at the time with the Woolsey fire, and the insurance put us immediately in the hotel, and they paid for everything there. Although I know they paid to the hotel a lot of money, but they gouged actually the insurance companies. So,
I'm sure that stuff happens all the time. That stuff probably happens all the time, Michael. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. More of your calls coming up. Stay on hold. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC as we take your phone calls on the Google sheet that is alleging massive price gouging in the rental market in Los Angeles. They tracked over 400 properties. Oh, wow, it's even more now. They've tracked hundreds and hundreds of submissions of alleged price increases that are way above what is allowed in the ordinance of 10%. Is this price gouging like some of our local electeds are alleging? Is this bidding wars like we're hearing from some of the real estate agents out there? What do you think is going on? Let's go to Jonathan in West LA. Jonathan, hello.
Hello, Randy. I was just curious what would happen if landlords were able to charge what they wanted to. This piece of land, if you wanted to rent here, it's $20,000. This other person has one for $10,000. And then the other part I wanted to just chime in on too, that makes paying rent a problem, is most people don't make an adjusted to inflation paycheck. That also makes paying rent really hard. Most people's paycheck is below the inflation line. So, but you always do a great show. I'll let you take some other calls.
Thanks so much for the call, Jonathan. Appreciate it. Look, the cost of living here is ridiculous. Even, we consider ourselves pretty lucky. We're a double income, no kid family. And it's expensive for us. It's expensive for everybody. And it's only seeming like it's going to get more expensive. And it used to be that, when rates were low and, there was a time where you really felt like if you were buying a home in the long run, you're saving money because you're not throwing it away with rent. But we're seeing so many costs go through the roof, not only with mortgages getting so expensive, but also when you're seeing property insurance go through the roof. I mean, that increases your payment by hundreds of dollars every month. Could be as much as $1,000. Could you afford $1,000 extra on your mortgage every month? I don't think I could. I'd definitely be rethinking living here. It's a wild place because the supply just got even smaller. And even with all the disastrous things that go on in LA, and even with how badly this county is managed, the demand never goes away. The demand will never go away, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to people wanting to live here. And so prices are going to keep going up. Things are going to get even more expensive. And every intervention that Los Angeles local government, the California state government has had on trying to help with the cost of living, it hasn't worked. It's such an incredibly expensive rental market, even with all of the things that they've done, the rent freezes and the rent controls and the eviction moratoriums. It's still so unbelievably expensive. I don't know what you do. I don't know how the vast majority of people make a living out here. It is so difficult, and I feel like it's only going to get harder, and that's why you heard it from a few people that called in. A lot of people thinking about, do I really want... Hey, if you just lost your home, are you planning on spending the next 5 years in a rental waiting to rebuild your home? Or are you thinking of starting a life somewhere else? I think some people are. I got to be honest, I'm born and raised in Southern California, and I was 8 years old when the 94 earthquake happened, and that was pretty scary. But this is so much more devastating than that was, and that was like one of those defining moments of life. The wildfire thing scares the crap out of me, to the point where, and the wind seems to getting worse, I don't know if I'm going to be living in Los Angeles for the rest of my life. I don't necessarily want to begin with, because now that I've started to travel, there's other places that I like more. But thank you all so much for listening, for calling in, voicing your opinion. This is your sounding board to Southern California, and we're so glad to have you every single day. If you ever miss an episode of this show, get the podcast by searching for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. And I'll see you tomorrow at 5 for another News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.